So how well has Spyro done so far in terms of units sold worldwide? Let's find out! What's up guys, Canadian Guy here, and I am back with some great numbers for the Spyro Reignited Trilogy, and man, like I said, they are really good numbers, and it looks like a bright future for Spyro. So we'll be looking and comparing some of the numbers to the Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy and how they match up. It's definitely interesting how it all worked out. Now, the date I am typing this is January 2nd, and they only show the first 2 weeks of sales. So that would mean that the sales that they are showing at the moment would only be from the release date of November 13th till about the end of November. So these numbers don't include the full Christmas rush, which I think will see another spike in sales. So, Spyro was released on 2 consoles this time around, unlike Crash. Crash was released for PlayStation only for a year, and then was released for Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Spyro was released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on day 1. Spyro on the PlayStation 4 sold 1,199,596 copies in 2 weeks. Now, this is simply fantastic, but let's take a look at what Crash sold in its first 2 weeks. Crash N. Sane Trilogy sold 1,327,372 copies in the first 2 weeks. So there is a small margin here, but yes, Crash did sell a little bit better. Now, I know some people are pulling the brakes here and saying, "Whoa, Canadian Guy, Spyro also came out for the Xbox." And yes, you are right. So let's take a look at the sales for Xbox. In the first 2 weeks, Spyro sold 305,412 copies. So that means in the first 2 weeks, Spyro has sold a grand total of 1,505,008 copies. So over 1.5 million copies. That means that so far in terms of sales, Spyro did better than Crash in the first 2 weeks. Now, I know there is the other side saying, "Hey Canadian, this is an unfair comparison. Spyro had come out with 2 consoles on day 1 and Crash only had 1. And again, angry fan typing in the comment section below before finishing the video and disliking it before it's finished to see the video in its full context, you are right. So I decided to take into account the first 2 weeks of the Xbox sales that Crash had. Crash Bandicoot in the first 2 weeks on the Xbox sold 129,986 units, grand totaling in 1,457,358 units sold. Comparing the two numbers, Spyro still leads in sales in comparison to Crash when it comes to both consoles. Now, there is a bit of an analysis that needs to be put into these numbers. First off, am I trying to say that Spyro did better than Crash and rub it in the noses of others? No. See, there are many more factors that need to be included in these calculations that are simply almost impossible to get information for. For example, how many Nintendo Switch and Xbox owners bought a Switch version of Crash instead of the Xbox version? How many people own both an Xbox and PlayStation, have Xbox as their preferred console, but bought Crash for the PlayStation 4 when it was on the 1-year exclusivity, and didn't bother picking up for the Xbox because they had already played and owned the game for PlayStation 4? Likewise for Spyro, how many people are waiting for a Switch version? How many people are going to buy the game again when it comes to the Switch? These are factors that have to be taken into account. But what do these numbers tell us? The overall thing that these numbers say is that Spyro is going to be just as successful as Crash, which is a great thing. See, since Crash came back, he has been everywhere in terms of merchandise and activity in the gaming world. If Spyro is doing just as good, then he too will become just as active in the gaming world as Crash Bandicoot. On top of the sales being practically the same, Spyro and Crash's Metacritic scores, both user and professional, are almost identical, with Spyro leading in the professional realm by 2 points overall. Another detail that I want to point out is where Spyro is selling. Now, looking at Crash for the PlayStation 4, they so far have only sold just over 1 million units in North America. The game has been out for a year and a half, and only recently did they break 1 million units sold. However, in Europe, Crash has sold almost 3 million units. The majority of people buying Crash is overwhelmingly in Europe. Remember, this is for the PlayStation 4 stats only that we broke down, but across the board for the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox, Europe leads across the board with Crash Bandicoot. However, when we look to Spyro, it tells a little bit of a different tale. Europe still leads in the PS4 sales, but not by much. In fact, Spyro has sold almost half as much as Crash in his run so far in North America in 2 weeks for the PlayStation 4. Then, when we look at the Xbox One version, we see a big change. North America now leads in sales over Europe. What does this tell us? Well, it would seem that Spyro is more popular in North America compared to Crash, while Crash is more popular in Europe in comparison to Spyro, but only by a little bit. So, in my prediction, Spyro will sell a little bit more overall compared to Crash, especially if there is a Nintendo Switch version in the works. But that's not a loss to Crash. A victory for Crash is a victory for Spyro, and likewise, a victory for Spyro is a victory for Crash. Both Crash and Spyro are very similar and point each other out when one succeeds. Many people that just picked up Crash may think, maybe I should check out Spyro too. And likewise, people who just picked up Spyro will think, maybe I should check out Crash Bandicoot as well. To summarize, this analysis, this whole video wraps up to one simple and straightforward fact. Spyro has a bright future ahead of him. He will not fall back into irrelevancy anytime soon, and the Reignited Trilogy so far has been successful in its mission to bring back old-time fans and memories. Thanks so much for watching. Cue the extra.